1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6, 7.
41. Siggma Rizzler rizzing up Livy Dune in Ohio. What the gyat? Mewing. Aura farming. Nonchalant dreadhead. Put the fries in the bag, sir. Are these things you guys have been hearing in your classroom? Because we have sure been hearing them in ours. We're going to talk about how you can use this to your advantage, the frustrating parts of it, and maybe some funny stories as well as that in this episode of Chalk and Squawk.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird. The bird's a winner. Well, a bird. Bird is a winner. Well, a bird.
I think I am mostly frustrated because I can't say the numbers 6 or 7 consecutively without the entire class going off. And in the classroom for our English assignment, our ELA, they're supposed to read pages 6 and 7.
6, 7.
And my mentor teacher instead goes, okay, so you're going to read 6, and then you're going to read the page after it. And she refused to say pages 6 and 7. And it's tough because I also have to do math. I'm teaching math fully. I fully took it over. And the number 67 is triggering for me now. So it's been very tough. It's been very frustrating. It has been banned in our classroom, but the kids still do the hand gestures. Or I found because we do have a lot of native Spanish speakers, they'll say siete. Or they'll do the hand gestures. So I've been losing my mind with it, and it makes me irritated more than anything else.
I definitely understand that because I'm in a strictly math classroom. So, like, the teacher, even if she's looking through the questions, sometimes she just forgets that that's going to set the class off. So, right before a test, she said how much coins were on the board, and it happened to be 67 cents, and the whole class was just basically distracted all the way up for the next 20 minutes just because of something that shouldn't have even been a problem, but it is because brain rot exists. Like, pretty much all to say about that.
All right, so my opinion on the topic is
Brady.
quite the opposite, actually.
Oh.
I actually love brain rot in my classroom. The other day, I was doing a read aloud with my class, and somehow the number 67 came up. I think that the main character was like, I'm gonna do 6 or 7 something. I don't know. I thought I was gonna think of it, but yeah, she was like, and when I came across that word, I even planned before, like, I'm gonna do the hand gesture, and they're all gonna laugh, and it's gonna be really funny. And I did exactly that, and it was really funny, and they all laughed. Did it get the classroom rowdy when they saw their teacher doing the hand signs? Absolutely. But was it an opportunity for me to connect with them and to kind of humanize me a little bit, rather than just being a teacher, also seeing someone like that they can relate to do? Yes, because I went into a plan, I immediately after they all exploded was like, all right, let's come back. I'm okay making jokes with you guys like this, but we got to be able to calm down after we laugh. And when I explained that to them, they were like, yeah, I understand. They were just happy that their teacher was like doing something that they understood. Some of the students were like, you're an old head. Why do you know what that is? And I'm like, bro, 21, bro, stop. But look, I find brain rot funny. I do. I'm not scared to admit that at all. I laugh at brain rot when I'm scrolling through TikTok by myself in my room. I'm not going to lie to you. So why should I hide that and pretend like I hate it when my students are the exact same way? I'm not going to be a young teacher forever. I'm only going to be able to relate to my students in this way for so long. I'm going to try my best to continue to be able to do it as I progress as a teacher, but this is the smallest age gap I will ever have with my students. And I'm going to use that to my absolute advantage and use it to connect with them, and in any way I can, use that way of relating to them to my advantage. And also, the other thing is, it kind of almost normalizes it in the classroom. So maybe after a while, after we make a couple jokes together, the next time they see 6, 7, it'll be less of a reaction and less of a reaction and less of a reaction. Or it'll be worse, one or the other.
I have a question for you.
That's good. That's my current way of going about it, yes.
Do you think that it'll be, for some students, going to blur the line, though, as a teacher and a friend, especially because you're in 4th grade? So where do you think that line is drawn? Because if some kids are seeing you more as a peer, it's very hard to build that respect back up as a
Yes,
teacher.
I completely agree, and that is probably one of my biggest struggles in my student teaching up to this point is like sometimes I do want to chill, have fun with the kids, be a little bit silly, but unfortunately a lot of the time after I get a little bit silly with them, it's really hard to bring it back to reality and be like, all right, I'm your teacher, now we got to do work. We laughed, now we got to do work. Luckily, my student teacher is like a young guy as well, so he's kind of similar to me in that, where he also tries to be silly with the students every once in a while. I'm studying some of what he does to be able to kind of balance the line a little bit. As for right now, I'm not perfect. I admit that, but I'm just kind of trying to develop different strategies on how I could balance that line. Again, I literally said 6-7 this one time while reading the book. I have not really integrated brain rot into my classroom other than that. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I have it absolutely covered and I know my students totally respect me and are never gonna see me as that. I'm just trying to find the balance. And I'm gonna continue doing what I said I'm doing. And I'm gonna do my best to find that line. Maybe it'll turn out I have to completely ban brain rot from my classroom if I ever want students to get it done. There's a possibility that that's the case, but as of right now, I'm trying to integrate it. You got a question too?
I don't know a question. Honestly, Brady, I fully agree with you, and I agree exactly with what you're saying. And I think, honestly, to counter argument to Makai, I think we see 6-7, we can almost kind of demonize it in a sense, and there are reasons why we demonize it because it's distracting and it's just not sometimes appropriate.
And it makes them want to do it more.
Exactly. I think when we do try and like hide it, or you try and like put a bar or a restriction on it, it's only like, why can I not say these terms? They're not hurting anybody, and they don't fully understand that. I think when we do allow it to have not even really integration, but allow it to make those jokes, that is community building, because you could say the exact same about, hey, I talked to my student today about their weekend. Yeah, that's still blurring the line between a teacher and a friend. Not saying that you are their friend when you ask about their day, but you are still getting to know them, and they know that you care about them. It's the same in brain rot. It's like, I know with my students, now they're a little bit younger, so they do say 6-7. They do have like their Italian, Italian brain rot. Yeah, like the tongue. So they don't want to pronounce it properly because they have no real idea of the word. They don't even know the hand signals with 6-7. But I was able to like, okay, so it was actually Tuesday, or maybe it was Tuesday. They had some morning where they were writing numbers, and on the back of their page, they were finished. Some of them were finished, and they were writing 6-7, but really and truly they're writing 7-6. And I was like, this is actually a really good opportunity where I could implement. It's not really implement. They're talking about 6-7, but they're actively doing what, like the assignment. You know what I mean? There are ways to do this. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it should be integrated in every single aspect, but I don't think it should be demonized or even like just shut at the door. You know what I mean? I think there's just so many opportunities and ways you could relate to them, because that is, with all honesty, that's the life that they're going to grow up in. It's the same when we had certain words like 21 and all the other stuff that we know that is not necessarily brain rot, but as stuff that was funny and trendy and integral to our own development.
Yep.
I think it's also like the balance between knowing what brain rot terms aren't bad and which ones are good. So I think, because looking at the list we have here, there are some ones that mean some things that children should not probably be saying at certain ages. So it's like, if you can have them focus on like the certain ones like 6-7 or Italian brain rot that doesn't really inherently carry any like negative connotation to it, then there's a better chance of them not bringing those more inappropriate terms into the classroom. Because if you start shutting down just everything they're going to do, then they're going to bring up the more like bad terms just to try and get a reaction out of you, I think.
Yeah. I think in a way brain rot is becoming, and I hate saying this because I hate 6-7. If I hear it, I'm having a hard time with it. But I do think in a way it can be culturally responsive when done right. Which is kind of insane, but like, it's their culture, and that hurts me to say a little bit. But what, Makai? You're making faces. Do you want to jump in? voice your opinion?
Okay. Culture is a very strong word.
Yeah.
It's-
It's for lack of better terms.
It's their environment.
I get that, but the thing that I'm personally running into is certain students are saying it so much, it's getting to the point where it's not only just a distraction, that their peers are getting annoyed with them saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So then it creates like animosity between the students between each other. And then that becomes an even bigger distraction because they're like, oh, so-and-so doesn't want to work with so-and-so because they keep saying 6, 7 over and over again.
Yeah.
So it gets to a point where then when you're trying to do group work and you want to do flexible grouping or randomized grouping, you have to deal with all these other little problems because it's like...
But I feel like that's just what certain kids are going to be doing because they want the attention and they want distraction. Whether they say 6, 7 or not, they're going to find a
It's
way
gonna be
to
6,
be a
7,
distraction.
or it's gonna be
And
like,
to
And
annoy
that
I
is
get
their
that. I get that. Like, obviously, there's always going to be something that kids are going
It's
to
hip or
constantly
trendy or
repeat,
whatever,
obviously.
yeah.
I just don't know if reinforcing it as
yeah.
educators
I mean, I would-
is necessary. Like, I get here and there, but then if you do it with the students and they get hyper fixated on it, and then they start doing it while you're supposed to be teaching, and it distracts from the learning, and then you're reinforcing it by doing it with them, then,
Well, then-
it's confusing for a young, especially a young kid, like,
Yeah.
even anything under, like, 5th grade, they don't get that. Now, some do, and some know when there's a time and a place, but a lot of them don't. So they just do it and they think it's okay when
yeah.
I feel like it can be a conversation then of then knowing like, hey, if we want like if you want like the cool teacher, like if you want to be able to like have that or have that conversation with the class, like if you want to be able for us to have this kind of fun, we have to set boundaries now on when it is appropriate and when it isn't, kind of thing. Like let it be more of a
It's like creating that classroom
teacher-led.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the initial, I think that's honestly fair. Like you
Yeah.
create that, like those rules and boundaries, as you said. Even routines as well. It's like this is a silly time, like in the morning before morning meeting.
Yeah.
Get it all out. Let's brain rot together. guys.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
if we know
that's
that like
good.
we can
Yeah.
have like as a class we can have fun, we can joke around, but then if it becomes a distracting thing, it will be something that can be
Yeah.
taken away, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's all about classroom management.
Yeah.
Which kind of going back to my anecdote earlier, I let them laugh at the 6-7 joke. I laugh with them, and then they have to know one of those boundaries you have to set is okay. We laugh for 10 seconds, and now we're back reading.
But that does also.
And that needs to be consistent. I agree. That's kind of what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
It needs to be consistent because if you're going to let them do it one time and not do it the next time, it's just not
Exactly,
fair
yeah.
to the students.
Yeah.
And that is really hard. And I think it's part of being a good teacher is being able to incorporate these moments where everybody can laugh and everyone can connect with each other and we could all be good friends while still managing your classroom properly and getting the work done you have to get done. I think it's just a
Yeah.
skill you really got to build as a teacher.
I have a question for you guys. So, do you guys know what the original like TV show Brain Rot is? Was like our generation.
The original,
SpongeBob?
like Crazy Frog.
True.
SpongeBob was
SpongeBob.
mega.
Let me tell you a story, right? So
I'm a
I'm
fan.
I'm leading a math lesson, right? And we're talking about finding the area of a rectangle. And so I'm talking about formula. I'm like, do you guys know what formula means? Because the book just like drops like tell the class this is the formula for finding the area, not really like anything else. So I'm like, do you guys know what the formula what formula means? One of my kids who sits like front and center right in front of me starts whispering, secret formula, secret formula, secret formula. And like my mentor teacher's like, no, like that's not what she's talking about. And I'm like, wait a minute, yes. And I was able to tie it back. I was like, do you guys watch SpongeBob? They were like, yes. And I was like, you know, the secret Krabby Patty formula? They're like, yes. And I'm like, that's the recipe for the Krabby Patty. This is the recipe for finding the area. And I was like kind of shocked that I was able to like pull that out of nowhere. But like it ended up working really well because like they understood that it's like the recipe based off of SpongeBob. And I think it also made me a little bit more human because I made it a priority to set boundaries very early in my student teaching, which I'm definitely glad I did, but like now I'm trying to like build the relationships now that they understand the boundaries, if that makes sense. And I think that was a really great example of like they're like, oh my gosh, wait, like she's not like this old like robot that like just spits math lessons, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I like, kind of similar to brain rot, like, you know, obviously, I like to think that SpongeBob's a little bit more educational, cultural, but
It's more
That's
classy.
debatable.
Oh, it's more
Let me ask you guys a
classy.
question.
It's more
What's
classy.
funnier than 24?
25.
It's the same as 6, 7. We cannot judge these kids.
yeah.
But the
Maybe
thing,
it's
one
not-
more
at the,
layer.
at the
of
end
joke.
of the day, too, like, we're supposed to be creating an environment where kids can feel comfortable and they can be themselves, too. By ultimately, no, you never know when that's going to shut a kid down kind of thing. So learning how to
Exactly.
incorporate it into their learning instead of shutting it down like they probably already are hearing at home.
Or at least
Well,
like
that's actually-
accepting it.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have students that, like, for lack of better terms, just really annoy you.
Yes.
But you gotta let it happen because that's just who they are.
6, 7 or not, they're going
Also-
to regardless.
Yeah.
You kind of have to. I mean, Hannah, I think you said actually a really good point that just made me think. When they're at home, we have to also realize and recognize that they are not primarily. Obviously, every student and family are different, but they're in front of a screen of some sort. So like, that is the most things that they can relate to. Yes, all of us, we had different experiences and we all kind of grew up in that information technological age, but they are knee deep in it. You know what I mean? They are literally iPad kids. And that's not a terrible term, but it is definitely what they see and that's what they can relate to. I do also have another question about. I have a question to ask you guys because I do think I'm on the I'm on the supportive side of brain rot.
6, 7.
6, 7, yeah, I love
Pros
6,
and
7.
cons.
Raise your hand if you're a pro 6, 7.
Love 6, 7.
6, 7. Oh, there's no video.
Oh.
Well,
Everybody
raised
raised their hands.
Justin raised
Except
their
for-
hands, and then Makai was hesitant.
Everybody raise your hands.
Not
It's
me.
lie.
Not Kelly.
The entirety of
Kelly
University of
not raised
Hartford. I have a question though. Because I do support brain rot, like I said, but I do think this is a interesting teacher thought process. But I think whenever there's a positive, not positive, whenever there is a what's that word? Something that is positive and could be used like a prize or a
Positive
something like-
reinforcement.
Yeah, kind of. Yes.
Yeah, no,
for sure.
I think the term.
Yeah, so like,
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
conditioning, yeah.
yeah, so whenever something is like
Like
positive
rewarding,
reinforcement
yeah.
or like a prize, there always runs the risk of students abusing it because it's just nature, it just happens. So what consequence would there be if you don't want to demonize these terms? Like what consequences would you guys think of? You know what I mean? To like really show the kids like, hey, like you are too silly right now and you need not a punishment, we need a consequence because we set these boundaries at the beginning of the year and you guys clearly broke them.
I think for this, it's more so like not demonizing the brain rot, but more so like you don't want the behavior of not being focused. And that's really like, it's not the brain rot, but it's the act of not being focused that's like not good, I guess. I don't know what word to describe it, but like, you know, so like instead of being like, no more 6, 7 because you guys are being too silly, like it's like, now's the time to focus. We're gonna lose out on our silly time if you guys don't like pay attention and like you know do what you gotta do.
But like you can also use if it's a student that is the one who's constantly vocalizing whatever it is they're saying, like let's say we're in math class and it's like, okay guys, we're gonna move on to question 6 or 7, and it's like there's one kid who starts doing that or says that out loud, and it's like, okay, Jimmy, like you can get up right now and go do question 6. Like have them if they are up and like ready and talking, then have them continue on the activity that they're doing.
I get what you're saying with that, but at the same time, then there's students that are going to do it for attention. So
Yeah.
they're going to talk out
Kids
of
are
turn
always
and
gonna do
make
something for
yes,
attention.
but then they're going to be if they say something like 6, 7, they're going to get the whole class to laugh, and then they're also going to get to show more attention to themselves by going up to the
That's
board,
also, like,
right?
knowing your
Especially
students.
But
because
I'm thinking that this is more probably in my brain. I'm seeing this more of a student who's like not going to want to do the work and is there only for the attention thing. So then by not putting them on the spot, but then by having them actually like learn and then do something, then take the next step kind of thing. Like that's the student that I'm envisioning of, at least with the kids that I've worked with, the type who like constantly say this. It's the ones who are not going to do their work or take the initiative to do it.
That makes sense. I don't know.
I
think
feel
it's-
like. Oh, you
There
go.
you go. I
Oh, I was gonna say, in my experience, like there's been times where like I have like a handful of students who like are so brain rotted, but like it's like like almost like a sleeper agent. Like I'll say like okay like 67 and like they're still paying attention, but they do the hand signal. And for me, I don't know what you guys think, but for me that's okay because they're not drawing too much attention from it. Like they just it might not even be a conscious thing, which is so sad, but you know, I think that's fine. I think if it becomes a problem or a distraction, like you can maybe like, you know, focus on the students who aren't doing it, be like, wow, I love how blah 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 is so focused, like how his pencil's in his hand, he's ready to learn. Or like, you know, if they're saying like, if I'm like, okay, it's 67 and they're like 67, like the whole like multiple students are saying it out loud, you can also say, I don't like it when you guys are talking over me. I don't like if I'm talking, your voices should be off, like that sort of thing. So again, it's not demonizing the brain rot. It's more so setting the expectation of like when I'm talking, you're not. When it's math time, when it's reading time, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, not necessarily creating distractions or, you know, disruptions.
Did you guys see that TikTok? It came across my For You page of this teacher who wrote on the board, like, if I hear you say 6-7, you're going to have to write me a 670-word essay on why X, Y, and Z. Did you guys see that?
Not.
No.
No, that came
I
across
think
my
that's
For You page.
cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
That's what I saw
Yeah.
a teacher write on their whiteboard. If you say it, you write a 670-word essay.
I feel like that's just a blank threat, though.
Yeah.
Depending on the grade, like you're not.
I mean,
I
if it's
think-
high school.
and
I
the
think
thing
it was
is-
high school.
We're not making
Okay.
a fourth grader on a sixth
Yeah,
grader.
and it's
Yeah.
like
I think
where's
where's
that high
write
school
their name
where
on
it
the
was written
paper.
on?
like, at the
Like-
same time, so it's like
Or like a 67-word essay.
realistically, if a high schooler is saying it, they know what they're doing. Like they're fully
Yes.
aware of that they're gonna
Yeah.
cause problems. When a fourth grader does it, like we were saying before, sometimes they don't even know
Yeah.
they're doing
They're
it.
trying to
It's just impulse, and they don't have full control
Yeah.
of everything they're saying.
I
It's
have another
their
issue with
prefrontal
it
cortex is
that
still
could cause
cooking.
issues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big word.
So
Yeah.
Good word though.
So I think another issue that could come across with the whole boundary thing is 6-7 comes up in the book. We all do this. We all laugh. Teacher says, "Okay, now we're learning." I feel like that is a little bit reliant on humor to set the boundary of when it's okay. Because what about the student who maybe doesn't understand humor to the extent most fourth graders do, and he just says 6-7 randomly out loud, and all of a sudden he's confused. Why is nobody laughing? Why is this time we're not allowed to be silly for a second when I said it? And I think that as a teacher, you can't really decide what's funny and what's not. I think that's a hard boundary to draw. It's kind of a problem I'm trying to answer in my head right now. Kelly's situation with, it's okay to do the hand signals, that is something I was thinking is maybe in my classroom I could say like, we can all do the hand signals, but we can't talk if it comes up in the text. Something like that. And that's a way to be silly for a second.
But what would you do if it comes up on a test? Because you want to, it's like a math
Make
test.
all the
specifically.
answers 67.
See,
Well,
if it
I would
comes
change
up-
the answers. I would
it-
change the questions.
But I mean, if it
But
gets
as
to
long
a
as it's
point-
planned, who cares?
Sometimes you can't though because they're
Yeah.
curriculum based.
Yeah.
Or like
So it's
SBAC.
like
yeah.
it's the and it's especially if it happens in standardized testing. If something that loud were to happen, like and kids started saying it, that's like you have to
Well, the
cancel
kid
the
gets
test
pulled out of
scores.
the
You
room.
can't
Yeah.
continue the test
Yeah.
because it's a distraction and they see it as cheating.
I think
So
it
it's
all
like-
comes down to that initial boundary
Yeah,
setting.
the boundaries,
I think
setting the
that
expectations.
Knowing like in class we're reading, sure. We like the rule is we laugh for 10 seconds, we move on. If we're not able to move on, X, Y, and Z is gonna happen. Under no circumstances can this happen during testing, because then if it does, X, Y, and Z will happen, like this is what the state will do, this is what blah blah blah, this is how it has a greater effect. Like I guess having that conversation on why it can be funny, when is a good time to bring it up, but then also when are the appropriate times and why is it inappropriate during that time.
I mean, again, I think it also comes down to like, should you be talking period during testing? Absolutely not. So like, Yeah.
I mean, on paper that all sounds great, but
Yeah.
is it practical? Like,
I also-
is that what's
for
going to
my
happen?
for
It's
my
a work
class?
for
It
this
is
reward.
working. For my fourth graders, it is effective.
If you're in a dead silent testing room and the kids know that they are taking, we call it an SOL in Virginia, Standards of Learning. That's our state testing. If it's a dead silent room and the answer is 6, 7 for whatever reason, and a child says, I don't know, I feel like that's just like, a conversation on testing beforehand of like they should know, they should be made aware.
yeah, which
But
is
we
like
also
a
talk about
common
the impulse
practice.
control.
Yeah.
That was a big thing, was impulse. There's a lot of kids that have like ADHD and they genuinely cannot control themselves.
Yes.
And then they
but
say
again, that's going to happen in a lot of other scenarios. People just giggling, or they're going to see like a funny word on like a reading passage and like laugh out loud, or like who knows what other word's going to become popular in the next 10 years. I feel like it's something that we're not ever going to be able to escape, kind of thing. And the more that these kids like go, yes, if we have those kids who need help with that impulse control, that's something that you can work on one-on-one with them.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
I mean, I think we had some really good points. I think everything we said was massive.
Like, you know what else is massive?
Low. No, but I think we had some really good points. I think it really does boil down to boundaries as well as, classroom management and environment. And I think it's honestly as well as teacher preference, so how far or how much you would like to have that implemented in your classroom, as well as what's your own opinions on, because I could see that I could see your own opinions on this topic definitely skewing or changing your reaction, and that is not a bad thing, but it is something to be known and be aware of, because times are changing. Kids are always going to be, in our classes, and they're always going to be getting older, and not the other way around. They're only going to be, whatever year or age you're teaching, they're always going to be that year. You know what I mean? It's never going to be like, oh, I'm teaching the same kids my entire career. That's not true. There'll always be something new. Anybody else?
I think this is the most productive conversation
Like,
regarding
by
brain rot
far.
I've ever probably
I
had
think
in
the
my
most
life.
productive
I'm
conversation we've
impressed.
had
Like,
on this podcast.
yeah,
It might be.
For me it is.
this is insane.
Brady's locked in.
And I think
That's right.
honestly, this is a testament of like using it for good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Because if Brady's locked in, then
Clock it.
clock it.
Hey, brain rot made me engaged. Why can't it make our students more engaged as well?
Period. Period.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last episode, as of right now. Second
out.
to last episode of our podcast. Next time we're going to be doing Who Wants to...
Who are you smarter than?
Are you smarter? Are you
Jesus.
smarter than a 5th grader? It's going to be a fun one. Make sure y'all tune in. Peace out, Girl Scouts, Skibbity Rizzlers.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird. The bird's a word.